Welcome to the Reddit Chronicles. Today we will be reading from Entitled Parents. Our first post is by Immediate Revenue, entitled Mom Mad That I Won't Share a Graduation Party with a 6-year-old. I, 24F, am graduating college this year. I dropped out at 18 for financial reasons and then went to community college. I graduated during the pandemic and transferred, taking 4 years at university since I worked and went as a part-time student. I'll be attending a credential program this fall and working in child development. I am having a small graduation party in June with my friends and family at my parents' house. My mom, 51F, called me and said that a family friend, Amy, 24F, suggested that we have a joint party because her oldest kid, Lila, is graduating from kindergarten, and said that Lila looks up to me and wants to share the party with me and we could save money. I said absolutely not, and that my graduation party would be boring for Lila and her friends. I would have to tell my friends not to swear or talk about anything adult, and nobody would want to hear about me or my degree because everyone would be focusing on the baby. My mom told Amy no. Amy sent me a message saying that I broke Lila's heart, and I'm being self-involved and jealous of a 6-year-old stealing the spotlight. Amy said that she deserves just as much recognition for raising kids and getting to this milestone as a parent. And I said she sure does, and she can do that at her own celebration, not at mine. By the way, she had a baby shower and a wedding last year. She is not wanting for attention. She said college isn't a big deal, get over yourself, and that I made a child cry because I wanted the attention to myself. Our next post is by Clear Sky. My entitled mom left our wedding because it wasn't sufficiently about her. When I, 31F, had my wedding 5 years ago, we decided to host it at my wife's, 31F, mother's house. We dressed up the garden and it looked magical. We were able to have a stunning garden wedding with about 100 guests, relatively cheaply. On the big day, while getting set up, my entitled mom was buzzing around making a complete nuisance of herself, trying to change how tables were arranged and allocated, and bothering both my wife and I while we were getting ready for the ceremony. Our friend, who was unofficial manager of the wedding, was doing his best to keep her satiated, while also keeping her from bothering the brides. When it came time to speeches, I made mention of people who specifically helped, and people who were a part of the wedding party. My sister was mentioned as she was a part of the wedding party, and my mother-in-law was mentioned for partially funding the wedding and hosting it at her house, investing a lot of time and effort. In the end, my entitled mom did not get mentioned because she did not help, but rather hindered, and has honestly never done anything to support us. When it became clear she was not getting mentioned, her family started shouting at me from across the garden, reminding me to mention my mother. Out of surprise and shock, I made a quick mention, but I honestly had no idea what to even say. It made no sense to me to mention her. Shortly after, she left in tears and she took her entire extended family with her. About 1/4 of the guests. Most of them didn't even say goodbye. It was a devastating amount of drama for what should be a magical day. My dad handled it well and comforted us both. They are divorced. I don't regret not mentioning her even a little bit. All it did was highlight that she can't be trusted to participate in our lives in any important or meaningful way. The relationship has never been the same since, especially since she outright refused to apologize to my wife, even trying to compare her behavior with my wife being withdrawn at her family gatherings. Since for some reason the entire extended family tends to pretend she doesn't exist. Totally bizarre. I am glad my wife still loves me so much despite my insane mother. Our next post is by Puzzleheaded Art. Parents hired detectives on me. I'm in my late 20s. I live on my own and have my own car. My parents are super strict and made me miss out on the college experience, which I'm still bitter about. I come from a family of extroverted people, such as my cousin, who's also accomplished career-wise, but still throws parties with around 70 people, responsibly. She got to have the whole exciting college experience, involving large social events and pursuit of creative passions, and now has fun alongside her career. She also wrote and starred in her own musicals, and I have a similar passion for acting that I've never gotten to pursue. I got the similar genes of being fun-loving, creatively passionate, and wanting to enjoy my life. I moved out at 25 to make up for what I've missed out, or at least enjoy my current freedom. The years after moving out have been the best years of my life. However, my parents still make me feel restricted. They literally hired detectives to remotely tap into my phone and read my text messages. They found out I was staying over at a friend's house. One of their rules is to never stay over someone's house, and got so mad that they threatened to show up at the friend's house to tell her to leave me alone. They're also tracking my car because they know when I'm out late and scold me for it. I can probably find the tracker and remove it, but the detectives part worries me since they're able to do this without a tracker. I guess I'm venting and asking, how do I get them to stop this? Should I threaten to reduce in-person time with them from once a week to every 2 weeks? They got really mad when I suggested that before because even with weekly visits they miss me too much. I feel sad because I'm missing out socially and romantically, as they still manage to enforce their rules of don't go out after sunset, which is 5:30 p.m., don't sleep over, and don't go out on weekdays to focus on work. I would love to meet and organically form a romantic connection with someone, but my opportunity to meet new people is restricted since after work weekend times after dark, and the once a weekday they see me, since they occupy the daylight hours, are off limits for socializing. Our next post is by Tasing Lamam. My daughter's father wants to use her as therapy for his wife. I, 33F, going to preface this by saying my 6-year-old daughter's father, 37M, I'm going to call him Jeff, has never been my romantic partner. We had a one-night stand. I don't like people calling him my ex, since it makes it seem we had some kind of emotional attachment. He was never involved after I told him I was pregnant, and actually wanted me to terminate the pregnancy, but I decided to raise my child alone since I have enough money to raise her without child support. For the whole pregnancy and the first 4 years, Jeff was not in the picture. On my mother's recommendation, I did send him pictures and invited him to special events, but he always replied he had no interest in my daughter. 2 years ago, he reappeared and began demanding parental rights. When I didn't do what he wanted, he sued and was told no, he was not getting parental rights. He was given the offer to pay child support, and then we can revisit giving him actual rights, but he has refused. He has the money, much more than me, but he refuses. I still offered to let him see my daughter in a casual manner, no child support needed, with the agreement anything legal, medical, or educational will not involve him. He pushed the boundaries and we had a fallout. After that, we didn't hear from him for almost 6 weeks before he called to meet for Christmas. After much discussion, I agreed to bring my daughter over on the condition my daughter's godparents could come. Thus, we went over for Christmas dinner, and finding out Jeff is married and had never told his family he had a child. It was great to be judged by a bunch of strangers. It was uncomfortable the whole time. I'm going to use fake names, but let's say my daughter's name is Katie. His wife kept calling my daughter Gabrielle. Not the actual name she used, but it was that different to my daughter's name. The wife was also very physical, trying to pick up my daughter or parent her. I would block her or tell her to please let me deal with my child. The whole time she pretty much ignored me, but Katie didn't seem nervous, so I decided to just bide my time. I hit my limit when my daughter said she needed the bathroom, and this stranger went, "Oh Gabby, you need potty, let mommy change you." My daughter hasn't worn diapers in a while now, and she's more than capable of going alone to the bathroom. I immediately told her to stay away from my daughter and that we were leaving. The woman started wailing that I was kidnapping her baby girl and tried to lunge at me. Her in-laws got in the middle and hold her, consoling her and saying that we weren't leaving, and for her to calm down like she was the victim. At that point, I just glared at Jeff and told him he better explain or I would be calling the police. He asked me to speak in private in another room, and that I could just leave my daughter with his parents. No way that would ever happen. Katie's godparents took her with them despite the wife having a full meltdown. Jeff and I spoke outside, and he explained that he and his wife recently lost a daughter. I'm not going to give specific details on that. All I'll say, it was sudden and nobody's fault. And as I can only imagine, it had caused some psychological issues to his wife. Apparently, he had the brilliant idea that having Katie pass as their lost child would help his wife, without telling me, and that's why he wanted visitations and parental rights. He pleaded for me to leave my daughter with him for a little bit. I asked him what was his plan when his wife heals. His response was disgusting. "Well, I'll just send Katie back with you and it will be just like before." I told him he was insane if he thought I would let him use my daughter like that. What his wife needs is therapy with a professional, not feeding her delusions. And I would not let that woman within miles from my daughter. He told me I was being cruel and didn't know the pain of losing a child. I agreed with him, but reminded Jeff that my priority is not his family, it's my child. What he and his family do to work through their grief has nothing to do with us. I also told him to call his lawyer because I am making sure he never has contact with my child. So that's what I'm bracing for. He's been blasting my phone since Christmas, but I can easily ignore him. My daughter and I are doing a small travel vacation. This isn't an update, just something I feel needs to be said. My daughter is set for life monetarily. She has a trust and I make really good money in my position. If she was 18 right now, I could put her through college without a loan. She doesn't need child support for quality of life. If I could get child support and never worry about her father trying something, I would be suing him in a heartbeat. But after talking to a lawyer and realizing the risk, I've taken the decision that child support or possible inheritance is not worth my child's safety. Safety is always first. Thank you for listening to the Reddit Chronicles. Follow for more content.